Hi, my name is Leisha Jean. I am the author of the Vestovian Trilogy. I'm a developmental editor, I'm an avid reader, and I'm a book reviewer as well. And today we're going to talk about review requests that authors are sending out to potential reviewers. As an author myself, I am very familiar with this process, and it's not a fun process. You research where to send the review request, you type out your email, you hope and pray that someone potentially sees it and reads it and answers you positively, and then you go from there. And it kind of gets worse, because then if they agree to read and review your book, now you have to wait for them to read and review your book. And you don't know if it's going to be positive. You don't know if it's going to be negative. You don't really know anything about it. You just kind of hope and pray that they're going to like your book. There are a couple different types of review requests. So there's just a plain old review request where it's, I'll give you a copy of my book in exchange for a review, whether that be positive, whether that be negative, just a review of my book. There are paid reviews where you're paying for a specific review of your book. Yes, there are people that pay for positive reviews of their books. It happens. And then there are paid reviews where you're paying somebody for their time and their effort to read and review your book, but the review that you get is not guaranteed. Today, we're just going to be talking about review requests in general. I get hundreds of review requests, and I actually recently had to close it while I get caught up on answering all of these requests, because I personally have a policy that I answer every email that somebody sends me. It's going to take me some time, but I am going to answer it. And typically when I get review requests, going through them all, I get one of three types of requests. We get a request like this, where it's just the most basic of information. I get a request like this, where it answers all of the questions that I have asked, as well as provided some information that the author wanted me to have. And then I get review requests like this, where it's very long. What I want to talk about today is review requests. So if you're an author and you are submitting a review request, in my personal opinion, as somebody who not only submits review requests, but also as somebody who receives review requests, here are some things that I kind of want to go over that you should be doing and you should not be doing when you're submitting your review request. So before we start, I do want to talk about my own personal review policy and books I do and do not accept. Not every reviewer is going to accept every type of book. I read a broad range of book genres, book styles, and things like that. But there are some books that I don't read. I don't read children's books. I don't read middle school books. I don't generally read YA books anymore. I'm typically not a nonfiction person or a memoir person. If I see that there are review requests for these books, I will typically say no. And the reason I do that is because if I already know that it's not the type of book that I like to read, chances are I'm not going to like the book. And though I do like to go into the book without forming any opinions, sometimes you just can't. And I don't want to set myself up or the author who spent all of this time in this book up for a negative review that's just based on what I don't like to read. Not everybody does that, but generally most reviewers will do that. So if you are submitting a ton of requests and you're not hearing back, there's a good chance that that's why. You're just not a good fit with the reviewer. Start off, let's talk about this review request. I get requests like this a lot, and you'll notice that there is nothing really in this. So my specific review request, I ask, what's the word count? What's the genre? What's your favorite thing about this book? As the author, you should have something that you really like about this book, and I want to hear about it. What do you like? Because if you don't like something about it, why would I? It's very clear on my page when I request. So those are the questions that I ask. And then I get, here's the problem with this. A, it tells me no information about your book at all. And I need to know information. I shouldn't have to research all of the information about your book to find your book. The next thing is, why should I care about your book if it feels like that you don't? You're not providing me information. You're not providing me your favorite thing. You're not providing me a synopsis. You're not providing me any information about this book. You're just giving me your word count. You're giving me the book title. You're giving me the book genre, and that's it. If you're going to submit a review request, I need to know that you care about your book, because if you don't care about your book, why should I care about your book? And that's very important. And if the person that you're requesting a review from asks you specific questions, you need to answer those questions. Because if I go through your book and I don't see answers to my questions, that lets me know that you didn't respect my time enough to read what I required. Why would I want to read your book? And I'm not saying that it's a bad book. It could be one of the best books in the entire world. But if you don't respect my time enough to answer the questions that I have, I'm not gonna read your book, unfortunately. On the other end of that spectrum, we have this review. I love the passion. I love the passion in this request, okay? I love that you love your book. I love that you care about your book. I love that you want to tell me everything about your book. But please remember what I said. I get hundreds of review requests. I currently have 300 plus sitting for me to go through, and I can't read all of these. Right now, book reviews are a hobby. They are not my full-time job. They are something that I do when I have free time because I want to help support other authors. So if you are sending me this, I love the passion, but I don't have the time. And a lot of the time I find that when I do read these whole emails, it's just a lot of rambling, or you're trying to convince me to read your book with other people's reviews. I don't want to read other people's reviews. Again, this is all my opinion. This is all what I prefer, but I don't want to read other people's opinions and reviews about the book. I want to talk to you as the author. What do you care about in your book? Convince me to read it because you like it, not because 50 other people read it and they liked it and then you want me to read it. Brings us to this review request. These are the types of review requests that I generally pay the most attention to. They've answered all of the questions that I have asked. I know the word count. I know the genre. I know what they like about their book. I know a little bit about the plot of the book. I know a little bit about the author. They have clearly taken the time to research who they're submitting this review request to. They've clearly taken the time to read and respect my time. And they obviously really care about their book, which is the most important part. I want you to care about your book. I want to love your book, okay? If you're submitting a review request to me, I want to love your book. I want to talk about it and rave about it and rant about it all the time. So I like reviews like this because it follows everything that I've asked for, while also maintaining their own integrity and their own personality as well. So how do we write a review request that answers all of people's questions, talks about our book in a positive way, and still feels like us? I generally like to have 1 to 3 templates that I have set up for my book review. The reason I do that is depending on the reviewer I'm requesting a review from, I like to be able to kind of tailor it to them. So if they seem like they're a very serious person, I want to send them something more serious. If they're somebody more carefree and fun, I want to send them something more carefree and fun. So I will have like 1 to 3 templates. Now, typically when you are submitting these requests, they're either a template on somebody's website, a form that you're filling out, or it's an email. So to start off with, when we're making our template, open a Word document, get a piece of paper, something to just write things down. What you want to do to start is, what's your book called? So title. What's your word count? A lot of reviewers don't necessarily ask for this information, but I like to be upfront with it because if I don't like to read really long books, I want to know. I want to know right now what I'm getting into. Oh, this is a 350,000 word book that's going to take me forever to read. I don't generally like to read books that long, but I really like the plot. Okay, I know getting into this, that this is what this is. So title, word count, what's your genre? Is it fantasy? Is it erotica? Is it romance fantasy? Is it dark fantasy? What is your book? What type of book do you have? Because if you're reaching out to people for review requests and they don't list somewhere what type of books that they like to read, you're gonna wanna let them know what type of book it is. Because if I don't list and then you send me a young adult book, I don't typically read young adult. So I know right off the bat that, oh, this probably isn't gonna be a good fit for me because I don't like young adult books. I generally like to let people know, and this one's kind of like up to you, but is this a standalone book? Is it part of a series? If it is part of a series, what book it is. So if I was going to be doing this for Ghoulcrest, so this is my first book, it's the first book in a series, I would put title, Ghoulcrest. I would put word count of 102,000. I would put genre is fantasy, epic fantasy, found family fantasy. And then I would put book 1 of 3 in a trilogy. So that's the basics like that. The next thing in your review request is talk to the reviewer. Hi, my name is Alicia Jean. I've written the book Ghoulcrest, and I've noticed that on your review site, you reviewed a similar book. I understand, again, we're reaching out to 100 of people. It sucks. But if you're not reading at least one review on this person's website, You don't know anything about their review style. You don't know what kind of books they like. You don't even know if you mesh with them writing style. What if every book that I review is awful? Even the most popular books in the world, even the best books in the world. What if every single one of them, I give them a 0-star review? They're just awful. Why would I want to submit my book to that? So read at least one review. Get an idea of their style. So we're going to start with our first paragraph. Hi, my name is Alicia Jean. I am the author of Goldcrest Book 1 in the Vestovian Trilogy. Period. So I've introduced myself, I've introduced my book, I've introduced my purpose for being here. This is unfortunately a business transaction. You can become friends, you can talk to them a lot, but this is to start a business transaction. Write something about them. I've written the first book in a high fantasy trilogy, and I thought that you might be interested in it because I noticed that you also like to read X, Y, Z. Put another book there. Put a review that they've done there. Why would they like your book? Well, if they've liked, I don't know, Lord of the Rings, well, they're going to love this book. If they really liked Harry Potter, oh, you might like this book. But if they only read like memoirs, this is not a memoir. It's not a memoir. Okay, so we've got our introduction paragraph. The next paragraph, tell me a little bit about your book. Well, you can do this one of two ways. You can tell them a couple paragraphs about your book, like this is a first in a trilogy, but you've already introduced all of that information with all of your intro stuff, right? So typically what I like to do is so you write this blurb for the back of your book, you write the blurb for Amazon, you write the blurb already. You already have this blurb. I'm very proud of my blurb, all right? Because summarizing a whole book into a blurb is not easy. So typically what I like to do is I will just use the first paragraph of my blurb as my next paragraph. We have all of our introduction information. We've got our introductory paragraph where we're talking to ourselves. We're saying why we think they might like the review. We've written a little bit about the book. So in our third paragraph, we're going to talk about ourselves as an author. We want to make ourselves be people. I understand. I am an author myself. I am not the most social of people. I'm not generally like partying going, woohoo, my name's Alicia Jean. Come talk to me. I'm not a fan of it. I'm just not. But we still need to talk about ourselves. We need to say why this book matters, why we want you to review it. So just pick a couple fun facts, all right? It doesn't have to be a lot. Hi, my name is Alicia Jean, and I have been sewing since I was very young. I love telling stories, and I generally create them while I'm sewing a new project, and the love of my life is my dog, Mifa. Thank you so much. Look how short and simple that is. At the bottom of that, if you want to include one singular review that somebody else did, you can include one. Short one. Tiny. Minuscule. All right? If you're including a book length review, I don't want to read it. Okay? I don't. Typically, if I'm looking at a book to read and review, I've already gone and checked all of that information out. Tell me what you're most proud of. What did somebody say about your book that you are specifically proud of? One of the reviews that I like that people give me are they really connect with the characters. So quote that. You don't need to put a whole lot. So now we've got our introduction paragraph, which, by the way, in our introduction paragraph, make sure you're also answering any questions that the reviewer has asked. So, hi, my name is Alicia Jean. I'm the author of Goldcrest. I noticed you might like this book because of XYZ. My favorite thing about my book is this. Include all of that information there. Thank them. At the end of your email, at the end of your request, at the end of whatever form you are filling out. Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to read this, whether or not this is a good fit. Thank you. It's a couple extra words. We're making a template anyways to send out to people. But the reason I say thank you is it's a polite thing to do. It makes you seem more polite. It makes you seem more approachable and kind. And that's what we want to do when we're sending out an email like this. Now we've made our template and it should look something like this. So now what I want to go do is, what I do for all of my templates is I will highlight in a color things that need to change for every email that I'm sending out. So who I'm contacting, what type of questions they want me to ask, making sure I've got all of the information for them correct. And now I've got my template. So now I can go to all kinds of book review request sites where all these people are listed, and I can start reaching out to them if they're a fit for my book. You don't have to write 100 individual emails. You don't. But you do need something that's up to par, that shows your professionalism, that shows your talent as an author, and that makes you seem like a person and not a robot. Thank you so much. My name is Alicia Jean. Again, I'm the author of the Vestovian Trilogy. I'm a developmental editor, I'm an avid reader, and I'm a book reviewer as well. If you want to check out any more of my information, you can check it out on these sites. And thank you so much, and I look forward to talking to you again.